Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Running Wild Podcast. I'm your co-host Rich. Alongside me, as always, my co-host Runz.
Yep.
All right, we got a Black Friday special, so we're gonna give you less wrestling for for a cheaper price this week. Of course, our price is always free, but just before we get started, I just want to remind you that we are brought to you in partnership with pwponderings.com as well as lastwordonprowrestling.com. All right, actually, we're going to go over the WWE week, and we have a special interview with Michael Elgin, so make sure you stay tuned. All right, so let's start off with Raw this week. Am I missing anything? No, Raw. No, we should start off with, obviously, Survivor Series, correct?
Yeah.
That would probably make the most sense. I think I just wanted to erase that from my memory, so I didn't want to even bring it up. So what did you think of Survivor Series, just kind of overall?
I enjoyed it up until the main event, and then I was kind of just like, wait, what? Then I watched it again, and I was like, the shock factor, the like, oh shit, like, that's over. Like, I like that part of UFC. So I understand wrestling is scripted and that's not a real thing, but to kind of see it, it was, because the second time around I paid more attention. So when Brock gets pushed down, and then he turns his back to him, then okay, that's believable.
Huh. Alright, so I'll admit that I did not watch it a second time. So I did not. I'm really still kind of unhappy with some of it. I just didn't really enjoy. I thought the elimination match was. There was too much going on in the match.
Well, all right. So before we get to that, the everything. Everyone is mad about Goldberg beating Brock, and we are too. I am with it because Brock beat Taker and then hasn't lost since. So to give that to Goldberg is one thing. But now if he's in the Rumble and this continues and then Brock beats him at Mania, then it doesn't really matter. It kind of just, oh, this is cool. All right, now Brock moves on. Maybe Goldberg loses to someone else. I don't know. But I don't mind it because Goldberg is going to be around for the Rumble and probably a Mania match.
But you don't think that the first loss should have been to somebody they were trying to make?
I 100% do. But he thought he was going to kill Goldberg, and he got cocky, and he got caught. Like, that's all right. Yeah, sure. Everyone went crazy for Goldberg. So can I blame them? I don't think I can. I think, yes, you need to make new stars, and that's been their problem for the past 10 years. But with Brock, you don't have anyone that's ready for that moment yet, and that's their fault. But now, not that he's more, human, but okay, he can lose. He's gonna get tight and get his win back. But all right, at least he's human.
All right. I mean, that's fair. You're seeing. I'm having a hard time, I think, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but I guess I go along for the ride and see how it goes from here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing. It's over. It's done. Now we'll see what they do, and maybe in the end it works out better.
I hope so.
Okay, so now go back to what you were saying about the tag match, because I think I'm gonna completely disagree with you.
So I just thought that there was a little bit too much going on, too many layers to it.
How so?
You threw in that Shield reunion there. You had kind of storyline with Shane getting hurt. You had the list stuff going on, which I thought was a little weird. I just felt like they were purposely trying to give it.
I think that's a stretch, because I think that's the point of these Survivor Series matches, is you have all of these rivalries going on that are all intertwined. Like the list stuff I thought was funny. The Shield stuff I thought was dope. Shane getting hurt wasn't a storyline. That was a real thing.
Oh, okay.
So, there are, I enjoyed the elements that they put together. They gave us over an hour long match, which I thought was awesome. The Ellsworth and Strowman I thought was
Uh,
fantastic. That was a great way to eliminate him without, him looking weak at all. And then he obliterates Ellsworth through those tables. I thought the whole thing was put together really well, man.
I forgot about that part too. Yeah, there. All right, it's just there were so many moving parts for me, but I thought the wrestling was good. I was surprised as all hell about the survivors with Bray Wyatt coming out on top.
Yeah, I didn't like that they eliminated AJ. I thought he should have been, one of or the winner. But I can't say I'm mad at Wyatt and Orton. Orton owns Survivor Series. He always has. And if that's Wyatt's kind of new thing too, hey, that's cool. That works for me. I'm interested. Right. And then them winning gives them, sets up Tuesday where they challenge for Alpha for the number one contendership. So okay, that's fine. Maybe they'll win the tag titles. And where is this going? Is this because in the end game we all think that Orton is just gonna flip on Wyatt, but what if that doesn't happen for like 2 years? What if they're just together? That's I'm they're growing on me because they're pretty awesome as a team. Like this, it's pretty cool to see Orton with the Wyatts.
I need Orton to wear something weird. I don't know, something raggedy. I, I think my problem with them being the last two is because I don't believe that they're going to really continue to do something to make these guys look good. But that's my bias because I've watched them for so long. Almost build Wyatt to a point and then bring him crashing down and make it nothing again.
Yep. Now Orton is involved, so who knows?
Well, I mean, what has Orton done in the last? Well, I guess he did unify the titles, but
He's a Hall of Famer. That's what he's done.
he dropped a deuce in what's her name? Carmella's bag. Not this Carmella.
All right,
Wasn't it like the Carmella from the Diva Search or something?
all right. I don't know. I think you're making up that name, but that's okay.
I totally am not, but I don't have
I
time
think
to
it
look
was
it
Stacy Keibler anyway, but that's okay.
up. All right. So anyway, what did you think about the rest of the card?
I thought the Miz Sami Zayn ending was good. It made me want to see more of them, and I can't, so that's annoying. But on Raw we'll get something. Didn't they mention something about like next week is Miz's last SmackDown, regardless, or something like that? I don't remember what.
Well, that'll. I mean, they're gonna trade him. I mean,
I guess they could work out something like that where they deal Miz for Zayn and someone, or I don't know. Maybe he loses the belt, and I don't know what. No, I could be making that up. But I could have swore I heard on Talking Smack they said something about that. So I'm going to put it on now and see if I can hear it. But yeah, so I don't know. That'll be interesting if they do something like that, or either way, this Miz Bryan thing is boiling to a point. Miz, I enjoy him wearing red on like the red suits and stuff like that to take subtle shots. So something has to happen.
and so the we haven't found out yet about the backstage attack on Nikki Bella, right?
Yep.
So first of all, what did you think of the women's match, and who do you think is the suspect here?
I mean, I think it's got to be Natty, and they'll go into some type of program, unfortunately. But I guess then both people that I don't really care to watch will be in one feud, and I'll be able to kind of easily pass that on.
All right. So I think it's probably see. It would be too easy to be Carmella, I guess, and I guess it makes sense that it would be Natty because Natty did replace her, so that kind of, and she was also the person who eliminated her from being able to be on the team at all. I don't feel like the Carmella feud is over with, so that's why I thought I don't feel like we've gotten a real end to it. So I thought it was a little weird that they would then transition to, let's say, it being Natty who did it.
Well, I mean, I feel like that feud has been going on for like 2 months. They've interacted every SmackDown and every pay per view in between. So maybe it wasn't the end, but maybe Nikki's tooth injury or whatever the case was that just all right. Well, we'll take this and turn it into something else.
All right, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I thought the match was good altogether. The whole night, I felt like some people went out earlier than I thought they were going to go out. So, like having AJ, like we talked about, and then having even Kevin Owens go out early, and New Day went out stupid early in their match. So it was just a little surprising.
Yeah, and I think I at first I was like, what the hell? But then I kind of enjoyed it. That adds an element to the Survivor Series match that is there. It acknowledges it. It brings it to light that these things can happen. You can get caught. You're distracted by so much else going on, and that's it. And I thought that was perfect. Like New Day, I was like, damn, why weren't they in the match? Then I watched the rest of that tag team match, and I didn't care. The rest of that tag team match was awesome. I really loved the Usos being at the end. I like Cesaro and Sheamus winning. The end exchange was really good, and it is going to lead to more storyline things for both of those teams, and that's fine.
What do you think is going to happen with Cesaro and Sheamus?
I don't know. Sheamus looked a little tight that they lost on Monday, so maybe we're already going to get the big blow-off, and, maybe we end up with something like that, with the loser leaves town, and Sheamus wins, Cesaro goes to SmackDown, Zayn goes to SmackDown for Miz, and then we're where we should be.
I just was surprised that they were the last two standing. I don't think you needed them to be the last two standing to still get them a little bit happier with each other or anything like that.
See, I kind of disagree because I think that legitimized them as a team for if they're going to stay together, or to give them the title shot. I thought maybe they would win it, but I thought yes, it could have been Gallows and Anderson. It could have been Gable and Jordan, but Gable and Jordan don't need it yet. And, Gallows and Anderson probably don't deserve it yet based on what the company has done for them. So I'm kind of okay with them getting behind Cesaro and Sheamus. I don't mind them as a team for now.
How much longer does New Day end up holding those titles?
They're going to break Demolition's run now. Or actually, I think the day before, like they break the record, or the day before they tie the record is Raw. So maybe they'll lose them, the day before. Like that would be pretty cool.
Just kind of switching gears for a second. I was just looking at the Raw rundown. I'm just laughing a little bit. Goldberg, I love when guys, they just come out and they're like, I'm in the Rumble. But other guys have to earn it. Like, I wonder if, like, you or me just grabbed a mic and, like, got on Raw somehow, we could just be like, yo, I'm in the Rumble, and they don't have to keep it that way.
Well, he said he spoke to Stephanie. She asked if he had one last title match, so she put him in the Rumble. He didn't just say, I'm saying I'm in the Rumble myself.
All right. I would like to see it, though. That's just small stuff on my behalf. And then just kind of close out, Survivor Series, the two matches that made me the angriest. I hated the way the IC title match ended, and I hated the way the Cruiserweight match ended. I don't hate the IC match as much because they've been doing stuff with Maurice, obviously helping Miz. I think I was just upset as a Sami Zayn fan, so I'll acknowledge that. But I was legitimately confused and upset with the Cruiserweight title match ending.
Why so?
Well, I don't feel like... Okay, so yeah, you do have the story with Baron Corbin. But I guess I was just so... First of all, that's not fair, WWE. When we're trying to make predictions, okay, you can't bring someone in that we didn't expect at all. And that's what I feel like. I feel like everybody went, what the hell? And then went, well, I guess Baron did, whatever, have an issue with Kalisto. But I don't think it was enough of a real connection there for Baron to come in and just destroy both. Like, why did he destroy both of them?
Yeah, I enjoyed Baron Corbin. I enjoyed the follow up on Tuesday, so maybe that's kind of softened my stance a little bit. Where at first I was like, oh, come on, like I wanted to see somebody win. I wanted to see Kalisto win, so I was probably just tight that like, oh damn, like Kalisto's now not going to win, and now the division's not going to SmackDown. But I, because of how tight I got, and that the storyline behind it was so good, I'm kind of okay with it. Like I like Baron Corbin and Daniel Bryan having beef, and him being tight that he cost SmackDown, and I enjoy that inter-brand stuff that they have going on. They need to build up heels, and that's a good way.
What did you think about the? So, are we good with Survivor Series? That would be it, right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay. What did you think about the very kind of Attitude Era-y segment with Rusev and Enzo Amore?
Enzo is funny, so he made it funny. But, it's kind of just like, oh, God. Like, what is this? But, it was okay. It was what it was. It was funny. It was the right three people to be in that segment, I think. And, it worked. I liked the match. I liked that, okay, on this Monday, we just have an Enzo and Rusev match, and maybe that'll be the end of it. Maybe we'll have a Cass and Rusev match, and then that's it. Just a little thrown together thing for this week or 2 weeks, and we move on.
All right. Well, you're right. Enzo did make it okay, but it was just... Oh, it was so absurd. And on a side note, Statwife loves Total Divas, which has ruined, just completely ruined, what's her name for me? Lana. The accent's not real? I don't...
At times, she still has some, like, weird little bit of an accent. It's kind of strange, but... Yeah, I mean, I knew it wasn't... Like, she's an American. Like, she was a dancer and shit. Like, I know she wasn't straight Russian like that, but, let's talk about, more importantly, her calling Canada America was, one of the most unintentional heel moves of the week. And she didn't even notice, I don't think.
No, she totally didn't know.
Because she was smiling like, yes, they're so angry, I got them, and like not even realizing, oh shit, they're angry because I'm saying the wrong country. But that should just be her thing now. She should just, everywhere they are, just say America.
I thought the crowd, was it the crowd? I like the NXT crowd, but I thought I don't know, some of the crowd over the weekend was a little weird. That we have to spend a little time on there. NXT TakeOver, just, as always, was phenomenal. Dillinger Rude was, I think, exactly what everyone expected. It was an amazing match. The crowd was super into it. Gargano and Ciampa versus The Revival was one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. It was everything you love about wrestling. Literally, it had everything. I was jumping up and down, jumping up and down. Just
when they hit the combo move and Dawson or whoever broke it up, like at the split second too, like I laughed. I was like, oh my god, what the hell? It was amazing. And then you had Joe and Nakamura tear the house down again. And shockingly, Joe gets the win. I love it. I really, really liked it, man. It was... NXT is just make that Raw, man. Just do everything you're doing on NXT on Raw, and it's a different world.
I mean, the one problem, of course, right, is they have a much larger roster. And I think that an hour or 2 hours is the perfect amount of time for wrestling.
2 hours is perfect, yeah.
Like 1 hour does feel like you need a little bit more, and you can even see that when you watch like Ring of Honor TV, because they'll come back from commercial and like stuff's moved along,
yeah.
And they're trying to keep it within that hour time frame. But obviously, I mean, Survivor Series didn't even make it to the supposed 4 hour mark that it was, kind of. When you have a 7 o'clock start, you assume that it's going to end at 10:45, almost
Yeah.
11. Especially with the bigger events. So it was a little weird that they did it this way. I don't even know if they need to start at 7 necessarily, but I guess being old, I'm happier when it's over, by 10:30. Not that made a difference because I unfortunately still knocked out, but that has nothing to do with the pay-per-view. And
What time? Like 9 o'clock?
I was out by 9:30. 9:30.
Yeah, okay.
9:40.
All right. Yeah, just checking.
Yeah, no, but I woke up like at 6 o'clock the next day and immediately watched the rest of the pay-per-view, so it's fine. Stat wife was like, "Why are you getting out of bed already?" I was like, "Oh, I have things to do." And things were obviously just that I needed to watch wrestling before I went to work. No, NXT was fantastic. Even she actually sat down and watched it. She thought the Dillinger Rude match was funny. I mean, I definitely was putting it over so much that she just kind of paid attention. And then she was really watching the tag match. She wasn't as into it as I was, but she was definitely watching it. And then I think she definitely cried a little bit when they won the titles. And I was listening to something the other day. I forgot what it was. It was a podcast or a video, and they were talking about the fact that Johnny Gargano always gets his leg hurt.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of funny. But, no, it was really great. I like Samoa Joe winning the title back. I think that sets up... Aren't they going to go to, like, Japan or something?
Yeah.
So, I mean, one would think, unless you want Joe to just get blistering heat.
Yeah, I don't think Nakamura wins it back in Japan. Like,
No?
I don't... No. Like, Samoa Joe is the first two-time champ in NXT history. You think they're going to have the second two-time champ in 2 weeks? I don't know. I think... I'm surprised as hell that Nakamura lost because they're going to Japan, but I don't know. Maybe, like, do you really just ruin what you've built just to have that pop of him winning the belt?
I hope not. But
I don't know.
There's a part of me that's concerned that it's a possibility. Well, and then Mickie James looked really good.
I got to be honest. At this exact same time, Matt Riddle was fighting in PWX, and so I switched over and watched that match, and Matt Riddle won, and then I put on NXT, and Asuka won the match in 4 seconds. So I was like, oh, look at this. Perfect time. Thanks.
It was weird.
So I didn't get a chance to watch that one yet.
It was good. It was, and again, I heard somebody else say this too, but I thought that, Mickie James looked good in the ring with Asuka, and kind of proved that she was good.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, the idea that, not that she was the best of the mediocre, but that she's actually a good wrestler. So I thought that was really interesting to watch. And yeah, and that oddly enough, Riddle won, and then the next night, they announced that he was injured, but he was at Beyond. Wrestling.
Oh, really? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, Sami Callihan stepped in as an injury replacement for Night 2, so that was just kind of weird.
Okay.
No, but the NXT card, I mean, guys, I keep saying this every time, but it's almost getting to the point where every time NXT is doing a Saturday night show before a Sunday show for the main roster, I always walk away feeling like the NXT show was more enjoyable, better put together, and just more worth my time than the longer main roster show is.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree.
I hope that changes for Rumble and Mania, but it's for SummerSlam and Survivor Series. If you asked me, as a real opinion, no bias, not even including the nostalgia of how much I like those big four events, I'm going to go with the NXTs. And I can't even tell you where the one... Well, no, now I know where they were. I realize they're in the same town. But I don't even need to know that or even remember all the matches. I just know the feeling I have after watching both shows.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
So let's see what else we missing from Raw. Um, Poor Sami Zayn. So he gets cheated out of the title against The Miz, and then Braun Strowman beats him into a coma. That's his reward.
That was his punishment for losing.
His punishment. My God, It was hard for me to watch that match. I legitimately felt like it was just too much.
Well, that's the idea, is to crush this underdog super babyface with this big monster heel, and it was completely effective.
I suppose it was. Cedric Alexander defeated Daivari. I thought it was a good match. I want to see more of these guys. I'm excited for 205 to come on so they can get a little bit more time too.
Yeah, they've been promoting it so much the past 2 weeks that I've been every SmackDown. I'm like, oh, okay, 205. Oh, no,
Yeah.
not yet. Oh, okay, next week. Oh, nope, not this week. Oh, wait, must be next week. This time I actually am pretty sure it's next week, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't get to watch. I don't remember for some reason the Sasha Banks Bailey match against Charlotte and Jax.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was.
Okay. How do they won?
I can't tell you.
Okay. I could just click on the results and it could tell me. But I don't know. I mean, so we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Obviously, Charlotte took out took out Bailey at the end of the Survivor Series match, even though they won together. So it'll be, pretty interesting to see how they develop that while keeping Sasha out of it.
Well, I think Sasha's going to go with Nia and Bailey goes with Charlotte.
So so Sasha's just so angry that Nia keeps attacking her that she's just gonna.
Well, they started it on Monday. Nia came out and they got in each other's face, and Nia told her she was coming for her and all that.
Statwife does not think that Nia Jax should be allowed to be in the division, and that it's unfair, and that she should be taken out.
All right.
Your thoughts?
I disagree, but it's okay.
I mean, she can't go to 205, but all right. Anyway, then Rich Swann ends up defeating T.J. Perkins and Noam Dar to become #1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought Dar was going to win, but I guess just to have a 205 main event, that's fine.
Yeah, they're probably going to do that on the 29th, right? Did they announce
Yeah.
it? Okay.
On the first one, I believe.
Okay, so are you to tell me that had Golden Truth won this match, they would have been #1 contenders for the tag team titles?
Why?
Because Gallows and Anderson defeated Golden Truth to become #1 contenders for the tag team titles.
I think it was more of just we're dominating, so we're now the #1 contenders kind of thing.
Okay.
But maybe it could have been. I don't know. I didn't see that announcement.
And then the WWE writers or somebody backstage pulling a super crazy rib on Sin Cara. Kevin Owens has a no DQ match with Seth Rollins.
Well, we didn't discuss the whole Jericho segment where
that's right.
they were angry with each other, and you definitely thought it was over, and then they both shouted Roman Reigns, and everything was all good. Ha ha ha.
I was slightly scared that they were actually going to break up.
It was they were too angry about the list. Like, the list was never that huge of a thing, and then it was this massive crossing of the line, and you went too far kind of a thing. So once Kevin Owens like, whose fault it was? I was like, wait a minute. Yes, they're gonna say the same person. This is great. And then it took a little bit, but then it happened. I was like, perfect. Thank you guys. That was awesome.
I was pretty happy. That was a crazy match, man, though. Once they, so afterwards they basically announced that Owens would defend against Rollins for the Universal Championship, and it would be no DQ, and that both Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho were barred from ringside, which is weird. Well, what I mean is, if they're barred from ringside, but it's a no DQ match, what actually stops them from coming out? Kayfabe.
Well, nothing, because it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But
it's just one
maybe
of
it'll
those
mean something next week where something happens.
like Chris Jericho in a cage.
If we didn't just see that on NXT, it wouldn't make sense.
By the way, have you noticed that one of the reasons that maybe they made that match was because they actually have a play set with the ring, where
Yeah, I've seen that. The exact same layout.
and even during the commercial, they're like, "Oh man, what if that cage falls?" And they have the wrestlers like right under it, like exactly what you were scared of would actually happen. And the best part is that if you launch off one of the turnbuckles at the right angle and hit the cage, it'll actually fall apart. That's like part of the fun of this ring setup.
Yep.
That's absolutely amazing.
You got to buy Charlie that for Christmas.
I'm not sure if I can buy him wrestling figures for Christmas yet. I'm gonna have to check with Statwife on that one. I'm getting a no. That's a hard no so far. I was thinking maybe just like the old LJN figures. Those are
Jesus.
Right? The LJN figures are just, what, 12 inches of rubber? That's it?
Just like 7 pounds each.
You can't choke on that. I mean, you might give yourself a black eye with the figures, but,
100%.
All right. So, back to the match. I loved them going into the crowd. It was just, I really thought excellent. and then Jericho comes out wearing a Sin Cara mask. I mean, I can't believe WWE can do stuff like that.
Like what?
Well, wasn't there reports weeks ago that Sin Cara and Jericho got into like a legitimate fight on a bus?
Yeah, he can't. Jericho said this week, like, that wasn't a shot at Sin Cara. Me and him are boys, and Sin Cara tweeted like, "Hey, nice mask." Like there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But come on, that's crazy. Like, why even do that?
Because they can. that's
like, whose idea is it? If Vince's idea, he's like, you know what, Sin Cara's gonna learn a lesson. Like, no, like I
think he's the only masked wrestler that they have on Raw, so that's who the mask is.
Oh well, they have Lindsay Dorado.
He's a cruiserweight, and they don't sell those masks.
Okay, all right, fair. I still think it was a little off-putting. Poor Sin Cara. All right, SmackDown. So, speaking of masked guys, The Miz ends up defeating Kalisto. So, what do you... I mean, we talked about Miz earlier. Do you really think he's going to drop it? Or I mean, they can't trade him if he has the belt.
No, so it would have to be something where, maybe the new guy coming over from Raw or something like that. Someone gets the win, and then it's like, all right, great. Now you're fired from SmackDown.
All right. It's just, you built The Miz up so much, and now if he wins the title in that fashion and then ends up losing it so quickly and then gets traded, I mean, isn't that kind of
Well, that's kind of what they do with in the previous years when they had SmackDown and Raw, guys would get big on SmackDown and then they would just move up to Raw. So maybe that's kind of what they're doing with The Miz. Oh, okay, he's really good here. Maybe we'll toss him on Raw.
All right. I think it's going to be a shame if Miz is off of SmackDown because he's just done some great heel work there.
Yeah, I completely agree. But if it's a trade with The Miz for Cesaro and Zayn, I don't know how mad I would be because I would like to see both of those guys on SmackDown.
All right. And then the most ridiculous, I guess, I mean, we have, of course, Baron Corbin defeating Kane via DQ. I don't know. Why is Kane there?
Yeah, he's just earned a spot, I guess. But I don't know. At this point, should be, kind of enhancement talent, and some reason he's not. So, whatever.
All right, and then James Ellsworth defeated AJ Styles in a ladder match to win a SmackDown Live contract.
And a future championship match.
I guess any guy with 2 feet can climb the ladder.
Yep.
I can't. I think at this point, I mean, aren't you making AJ look way too foolish?
It's not like he's losing to just Ellsworth. Like, Ambrose keeps fucking with him, so it's 2-on-1 every time.
Okay. All right. It's just, can you imagine in 10 years? 10 years from now, we're going to look on like Wikipedia for Survivor Series. Or not for Survivor, whatever, for like things that happened around Survivor Series 2016. And we're going to read that this dude, James Ellsworth, defeated AJ Styles for a SmackDown Live contract.
All right, and rewind 15 years and read that the Hurricane defeated The Rock and Shelton Benjamin defeated Triple H. And, those kind of things happen. And this is just, building the storyline right now, and it's all Ambrose. So I don't mind it as much. These jobbers and these super over baby faces can get those kind of surprising wins. And, if AJ is the big heel and he keeps getting screwed over, the crowd is going nuts for it. So, I'm fine with it.
All right. Well, so that basically wraps up WWE for the week. And you said the NXT show was just kind of pre-show matches from the TakeOver special?
Yeah.
All right. So I think we might have spoken about the beginning of the Ring of Honor Reach for the Sky tour last week.
Probably.
We had covered, I think we would have covered that Ospreay defeated Fish to become the television champion in Liverpool, which then made Fish winning the Survival of the Fittest tournament make more sense because he doesn't have the title anymore. And then 2 nights later, Marty Scurll defeated Will Ospreay to become the new Ring of Honor World Television Champion. So it's going to be crazy because now at Final Battle it's going to be Ospreay versus Scurll versus Dragon Lee versus Bobby Fish for the television title. What do you think about Scurll winning it from Ospreay so quickly?
I think ROH is really smart to build on the Scurll and Ospreay rivalry. They've been feuding for a year plus in Revolution Pro and all over the world. So, they're going to give you a killer match and killer series of matches. So throwing, Fish and Dragon Lee in the 4-way, that makes perfect sense. So that match should be ridiculous at Final Battle.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think Scurll is awesome. If you watch they don't have all the VODs out yet. They just released Liverpool, but if you just reading the results, they were really smart with Scurll and Ospreay because they had them wrestle separate matches and win on the first night. Then the second night they teamed up to face the Young Bucks, and they had some kind of miscommunication a couple of times. And then the next night they face each other for Ospreay's new title. Like, it's just a nice booking of 3 days in a row,
Yeah.
And I guess the other kind of big news that came out this week was that Cody will be taking on Jay Lethal at Final Battle. And the other bit was that Silas Young will be taking on Jushin Thunder Liger. It was actually pretty funny because Young basically said that Liger is a coward for 30 years because he hides under a mask. I'm not super. I mean, I guess I'm excited that we get to be there for Jushin Thunder Liger because, how many more times is anyone going to get the chance to see him wrestle? But at the same time, I really feel that after just getting a title shot against Adam Cole, where he almost came away with the win, having him take on Liger at Final Battle just kind of feels meaningless.
I completely disagree with you there. And Liger is one of the biggest stars ever, in Japan and just in wrestling, period. So for Silas Young to have this feud, have this match, whether he gets the win or not, doesn't really matter. But this is a step up for him in terms of, the name he's fighting and the spotlight placed on this match. So I think this is a good place for him. I think this is a good feud. Like you said, he was calling him a coward and he's a real man. So I'm looking forward to that. Cody Lethal is ridiculous. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Ring of Honor, for making that match. And was there any beef, or was it just, hey, this is the match we're making?
I think it was just, if I remember correctly, it was literally like, hey, this is the match we're making.
That's enough for me. I'm not gonna complain. So, that'll be great. They also, just the same way, replaced ACH with Leo Rush, right? I mean, we know that they're not on good terms right now, but there was no formal announcement, I don't think. It was just kind of, we're replacing this, unless it was a typo.
I don't really have a lot to say about that part of the change. That's a little odd. Cody Lethal, I'm super excited for. Lethal was saying stuff like, you've done things, but you've never done anything here, and I've done, a great deal. So, I'm kind of representing ROH against you. So I kind of like that.
All right.
I just wish this Cody guy had a last name, but other than that, I'm really excited about it. So that kind of wraps up the Ring of Honor stuff. We're going to actually share with you an interview with Michael Elgin and Chris GST, the web admin from pwponderings.com. Here we hear a lot about how Elgin's recovering from some recent injuries, as well as some exciting news about a new promotion that he's going to be running over in Illinois, and it's called Glory Pro Wrestling. So just sit back and we'll be back with you guys after the interview.
Joining me on the line is Michael Elgin, former New Japan Intercontinental Champion. And, Michael, we appreciate your time here, and as always at PWP, we like to pick the big questions out. So I think everyone is just really wanting to know, on Halloween, the Munsters. Come on now, that was pretty awesome, but is your son really
the Munsters.
Gonna
it
know?
was the Addams family.
Oh, was the Addams family? Oh, okay. See, I already messed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this tells you about my childhood. That's where I go. But yeah, so how was Halloween? It looked awesome.
It was great, and I was a last minute addition to Halloween because my wife is more into the costumes and stuff and the whole Halloween spirit. Don't get me wrong, I like Halloween, and before my son was born, I like to be able to hand out candy out the front door and see the kids come by in their costumes and stuff. But I was supposed to be in Japan during that time, so she had already planned hers and Jax's costumes. So then when they found out I was going to be home, I was kind of delegated to be part of it. So, but it was great. My son can walk a little bit now, so we got to walk up to a couple of houses with him, and he seemed to enjoy all the costumes going around him and everything. So it was a great night.
I mean, no one likes having an injury, obviously. But was this kind of a nice way? Because you hear so many wrestlers say that if there was one thing they would like to do is just to have spent more time with their kids. And again, no one likes an injury, but you got to spend Halloween with your son and your wife. So that had to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I find there's always blessings in disguise with injuries because as a wrestler who's very busy, often the only time we ever get off is an injury, which sucks. But that's also kind of a time to sit back, relax, resting up your body, and especially, time with your family. I think I was home. My wife threw the number out like 8 weeks this year so far, like fully altogether. I was home for 2 months. So it's been a tough year, obviously, but I wouldn't change it. And fortunately, with the injury, I did get to spend some more time with my family, and I'm looking forward to another month and a half with them.
while you're out though, obviously you're keeping up with the product. You're checking out New Japan. I mean, they have the tag league going on.
Yes.
Just some incredible wrestling going on there, and being off the road, does this give you a chance to really, see your opponents? And we always hear that wrestlers, while you're wrestling, you don't really get to watch as much because, you're kind of worried about your stuff, worried about what's going on. I mean, have you been able to kind of take a step back and look at guys like Sonata or Naito or Tanahashi and go, you know what, when I come back, I'm going to be better than ever because I had this chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And injury's funny because for about the first 2 weeks of injury, you can't watch wrestling as a wrestler. It's like something you get hurt and you realize you can't wrestle for a little bit, and something changes in your brain and you stop being able to watch wrestling as a fan, and you start like nitpicking everything because you're just in an unhappy place of where you can't perform. I've learned that the hard way. So now as soon as I get hurt, I just completely stop watching wrestling for a few weeks to make sure that mentality's gone so I can get back and just watch as a fan and really pay close attention to people. So the first 2 weeks of this injury, I decided not to watch any wrestling. And then, all my free time, I've been watching stuff and catching up and just checking out different stuff. And I definitely look forward to getting back, and I definitely look forward to working with Naito and LIJ because they're the ones that injured me, so they got something coming for them.
Is it kind of interesting seeing guys, come back? So I think kind of one of the stories that people are talking about there is Billy Gunn, and we got a couple questions actually from our listeners that wondering, would you ever go in there and basically want to wrestle a guy like Billy Gunn? I mean, his history in wrestling, it speaks for itself. But is this something that you think New Japan is doing, bringing in a guy like him for more? I mean, at this point, can you even say more name recognition? Because New Japan is, besides WWE, is probably the number one, number two in the world.
Yeah, I think they always like giving different varieties on stuff. And tag league is one of those things where there's so many guys involved that they can give a good variety. I don't think it's for name recognition. I think they like the variety of, oh, this guy wrestles this style, these guys wrestle this style. And I think that's what they're looking for. And mind you, when I heard that he was coming in, I was ecstatic because I've actually spent a lot of time with Billy Gunn when I was doing Winnipeg tours. And we had this weird TV thing that was called WFX there. And the main thing going on was actually myself and Charlie Haas against Billy Gunn and Bob Holly. So I got really close to Billy Gunn, back in 2010, and we've kept in touch ever since, even when he was down in developmental. So I was really excited to actually be on the tour with him. And then when I got hurt, I was like, that was one of the big things I was going to miss was 3 weeks on the road with Billy again.
No, he seems like a really great guy. And from what I think, I've only seen 2 matches now, but he seems to be gelling pretty well with that style. I mean, speaking of, we actually kind of got a question that's a good way to transition into that is, how has your style changed, and how are you teaching your students when it comes to, the certain style that they have in New Japan is just growing and growing in popularity here in the States, especially with New Japan World and the show on Access TV. Is it different than how you were trained? In terms of, there's a style, that you could say that is taught here in America, but in Japan, I don't know if that style that was taught back then can work there.
So are you asking about the teaching, or if my style has changed as a wrestler?
Kind of both, yeah, because you have students, yeah. So
okay.
Your style's definitely changed.
As a wrestler, I think maybe you would be one of the better persons to catch it up, because I've seen you at shows before I went to New Japan, and obviously you've seen my stuff since New Japan. So I always felt that I would fit in Japan because of my style. I think every pro wrestler emulates their favorites. And my favorites from a very young age, when I first saw them on WCW and then found Japanese tapes, were Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy, and Steve Williams, which then I got into watching Misawa, Taue, Kobashi, Kawada. So those were my favorites growing up. So that is what I tried to emulate. And I think for a while there, fans would kind of say, like, oh, he's just trying to be like a Japanese wrestler and like, blah, 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 blah. He's doing that just to do it and stuff. But it was because that's what I grew up loving, and that's the style I wanted to present. And then I felt like when I went over to New Japan, I kind of clicked a lot quicker with guys than some people do because I understood the style as a fan and tried to do it because that was my favorite stuff. So I really think I transitioned into it fairly easy because I was already kind of wrestling that style. And, I mean, I think so. Maybe the fans don't think so, but that's how I felt because, you know, it seemed like the first singles match I had over there was with Okada, and instantly I felt like I was in the groove with them and just had that feeling of everything's going to be great this tour because I understand the style because that's the style I wrestle already.
I think so. I think it blended really well. I mean, and especially the comparisons to Dr. Death, Steve Williams. You know, it really it shows that you have that storytelling element. Even though, I mean, I don't know how is your Japanese these days? I'm assuming it's a lot better than it was.
Definitely. So I've learned a little bit here and there, not a drastic amount. And the only reason I don't learn a drastic amount is on tour. My mind's constantly in wrestling mode, and then when I get home, only being home for a little bit with my wife and son, it's been hard to really sit down and actually learn the language. But I know, you know, some terms here and there, and I can understand more than I can speak, obviously, a lot more. And if we're like talking wrestling and my opponents or Tanahashi beside me speaking Japanese, I can understand what they're saying because it's also wrestling language that I'm starting to pick up more. So I definitely have a better understanding, but I definitely have a long way to go to understand the language.
So a lot of the questions that we also got kind of touched upon, you know, this is a great relationship between New Japan and Ring of Honor. You are a self-proclaimed New Japan guy now, which obviously shows the changes that have gone on. But do you still keep up with Ring of Honor? Do you still kind of watch it and see how the guys are doing?
I'll check results, and if something catches my eye as a fan, I will watch it. I love still working for Ring of Honor when I have the chance, but there's been some guys that I've pitched to them because of people leaving, and I really haven't got responses about it, and I mean they're not getting used, so I feel like I got shrugged off, and I'm just like, I have no stake there, and I'm just trying to help and lend a hand because they gave me so many opportunities, and it's kind of a bummer because like I'm not saying it to benefit me, I'm saying it to help them with guys like, you know, Roddy, myself not being available so much, Moose. Like if you think about it in the last year and a half, how many guys that are not available to Ring of Honor anymore, it's ridiculous. Like I'm missing a bunch of shows. Moose is no longer there. Roddy, Cedric, Tommaso, like there was a really good group of guys that moved on that would have been groomed or were already in the main event scene to keep everything really going. And I wish that hadn't happened, but that's just the nature of the beast. So I often reach out with some like ideas of guys like the Jason Kincaid and Josh Alexanders and many other guys. But those are two that I'm very high on. And I said, guys, you got to do something with these guys before somebody else grabs them because they're not going to be available much longer. And I just don't hear anything back. And even if it's like, oh, we'll look into it or something, I'm trying to reach out to you guys. I want you guys to succeed. So that kind of like almost puts a downer on, like, man, it's not like I'm asking you for anything for me. I'm just trying to help you out. But yes, I do. I read all the results. And as soon as I see a match that I'm like, ooh, those two guys are really good. Like, damn, I got to watch that. And I really try to keep up with Dijak because I think he should be a top guy in Ring of Honor in 2017. But.
Hopefully, yeah. You know, it seems that they're kind of doing something with him, but at the same time, never really know.
Yeah,
Speaking
I
of,
really think like between working with them and watching them, not just at Ring of Honor, and when I was in England with them, he's done Alpha One in Canada and had a tremendous match with Ricochet Page. And all this stuff at Ring of Honor, he's like, and Beyond Wrestling too. I like doing those, and I often ask, you know, Beyond Wrestling to send me the shows so I can keep up with them because they've always treated me well. And like, there's no other way to say it, but then Dijak's a star. And if I was Ring of Honor, I'd be throwing tons of money at him to make sure I have him for a few years and just make him my guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I've said this many times on our other podcast that Dijak in Beyond is just so different from Dijak in Ring of Honor, and it's like night and day, and I don't know what else he has to do to get them to, for lack of a better term, take him more seriously.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's hard, and that's why I'm saying, like, there's certain guys out there that you should use, because then you're not concerned about leaving the undercard with nobody, if that makes sense. So there's some guys you can filter in that are gonna really pop that bottom card, so you can start moving guys up to the top. And I think that that's actually a problem in a lot of places in the world of professional wrestling, like companies all over the place. You have a key guys in the top, and then you just have the rest of the card, and it's hard to move guys up, because what are you going to fill the rest of the card with when those guys move on? Well, if you're really paying attention to what's going on around you, my God, there's tons of people. Like, right off the bat, if I'm a wrestling company and have the power to sign people to a contract, Josh Alexander, Jason Kincaid, and Desmond Xavier. Sorry, I was thinking somebody else. And Desmond Xavier out of Ohio would be my three guys that I'm like, okay, I need them right now. Like, just give them money to be on our show. They're gonna make it back for us. And like, nobody's doing that right now. It actually blows my mind that those three are not picked up by Evolve for full time or Ring of Honor for full time. Like, I think they're three amazing talents that need to be seen and need to be locked down because they're special.
well, speaking of, you do actually now have a promotion, Glory Pro, and you have announced the first date, February 19th, 2017. It's kind of amazing. There is a, we spoke about this right before we got on the line here, and what was the impetus for this? What did you see around you and say, you know what, this needs to get done. I need to open up my own promotion.
So there's a couple things. Number one is I run a pro wrestling school in St. Louis, and forever I have toyed with the idea of starting a show to be able to give guys work and also get my students more experience on shows. Because unfortunately, in the St. Louis area, the places that run the Illinois side, excluding a couple, Anarchy being one and Dino Boom Pro being another, run kind of poor shows. They're using untrained guys. They're not really giving people work that are in the area. They just kind of book their buddies that don't even really wrestle and stuff. And then the St. Louis area really has nothing, like in St. Louis itself. And that's partly because of the athletic commission, with all the regulations and everything. But there is one that's been, forever, a long time, and it's called South Broadway. And I guess they were offended that some of my students decided to sign up with NWL. And he just kind of yelled at them in front of everybody and said they're stupid for taking the work. Like, he can't use them if they're gonna go and jog down the street every Thursday and the blah 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 blah, and then told them they're not welcome at the show anymore. And the way he went about it, I thought was really rude. And then the NWL stuff, it's good, but that's on the St. Louis side. And then with Anarchy closing shop, I said, you know what? I think it's time that I start a wrestling show. And I was actually lucky enough that I was home for 2 months and could actually get this process going, because it's much more difficult to try to get it going from Japan and then have to count on others to start promoting it and start locking down venues and all this other stuff. So it was just time now, and everything kind of fell into place.
Are there any issues with starting a promotion that you didn't think you'd have to encounter or that you haven't encountered before in the wrestling business?
No, and the only reason is because I've ran promotions before, so I kind of know what I'm getting into. The last 2 years I've been very fortunate to get a strong following. So the support I've already received from everybody is tremendous, and I really appreciated it. And not only that, that makes me want to even push it up a notch. You know what I mean? It makes me want to take a show that I want it to be good, and I got to make it great, because everybody's supporting it so much, and I don't want to let anybody down. So I really have been very fortunate. It kind of just was, I've been toying with it since I've been sitting at home in injury, and then that happened, and then as soon as that happened, I got mad, and that happened on a Saturday night, and Monday night I announced that I'd be running shows. So it was a kind of a quick. It felt like it was a quick, announcement, but I've been toying with the idea for so long that it was kind of just a long time coming. But I haven't ran into any issues yet. It was pretty easy to get my venue going and get tickets all the time. So I think we're gonna have a great run.
How many shows are you looking to run? I know a lot of people were asking you that on Twitter, and you're always kind of good with the responses of you're getting the venue down. But what are we looking at in 2017?
I'm hoping to run between 5 and 6 shows to start off, and then if that goes well, I'm gonna obviously move forward. We are looking for sponsors and are talking to people, but if we don't get sponsors, then all the money's on me. I've been very fortunate enough, actually, that DanForBelts.com, and this is kind of a plug, but also he treated me great, is making our championship belt for a very big discount. And I'm getting a professionally made championship, and I mean, like, this guy worked with Dave Milliken, so he's had a hand in making all the WWE titles, all the New Japan titles, and he's given me our world championship for a great deal that I don't want to divulge in case he gets upset about how good of a deal he gave me. But let's just say that the original price on this belt should be about $2,000 to $2,200, and the deal I have is amazing. So we're really I'm really putting my own money into this to make it look very professional and make it the best I can. The only thing that I would like to do is I wish I could just go and buy a wrestling ring with custom canvas and custom everything, but I don't want to spend that money yet, just because you never know how the promotion is going to go. So, but with the belt and stuff, I'm not holding anything back. I'm trying to book the best matches I can. I want my students that have been absolutely tearing it up to go out there and work with, guys like the Silas Youngs and Cole Cabanas and Chris Heroes and Ethan Pages and all those guys. I want them to get that opportunity to get better and on them, because I feel that people are willing to give me a chance and at least watch the first show. And if that show does good, that following will continue. And if my students do good on those shows, then they'll hopefully get a big following too.
Is it harder now? Because you were mentioning guys, like a Josh Alexander, and I know that you put this out there on Twitter. And for anyone that doesn't know that if this all works out, you'll be helping to sponsor him for his visa, which has always been an issue for Canadian wrestlers coming across to work here in the United States. Josh Alexander, yeah, he's a fantastic talent, and obviously very smart of him though to stay in Canada, not get in trouble.
Yes.
But man, when those chances that were here, why do you think no promotions, kind of, is that a big expense? I guess is kind of the question. Is that an expense that other promotions you think just weren't willing to take with Canadian wrestlers?
So you have to be a licensed business. You have to have taxes filed. You have to have a certain amount of dates to be able to give somebody work. So what I could do is tie him into my wrestling school, which runs twice a week yearly, plus a wrestling promotion that runs 6 shows a year. And I'm 100% serious. If this goes well, I'm keeping all my paperwork and all my stuff, get some taxes, history going, file it as a company, and I will absolutely sponsor him for a card, because it costs $2,000 to get a wrestler. I'm sorry, work visa, not green card. It costs $2,000, and if I sign him for 3 years, I can get that visa good for 3 years for $2,000. As long as the contract is as long as they'll make the visa. With the lawyer fees and the actual payment for the green card, or sorry, I keep saying green card because that's what I did. Work visa,
right?
It's $2,000, which I think is an investment. Like, okay, if I'm a company and let's say my starting contract is $150, me as a Canadian, if that employer came to me and said, "Listen, we usually pay guys $150 a night, but your work visa is $2,000. So until that's paid off, I'm going to pay you $100 a night and keep $50." Sure. right? I think it's a very easy process, and it's very fair, because that's going to turn into more money for that person later on because they're getting more exposure.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it just seems like it's such a I don't want to say strange process, but a process that a lot of companies obviously aren't willing to take. So,
Yeah.
just wanted to kind of throw that out there. That's really awesome of you, and hopefully Glory Pro does, work out. And you're already mentioning a lot of names. I think anyone, if you guys want to know, because we did get questions about it, which guys are you looking to bring in? But I think you mentioned, guys like Desmond Xavier, guys like Josh
I got
Alexander.
a whole list though, so if we do cover those questions, I have spent the last week and a half scouring Twitter and scouring YouTube of guys that I feel need to be seen. So if you want to ask those questions, I'll gladly talk about it, because some of these guys are doing great stuff and just need the right opportunity on the right show that people are going to witness, and that's what I'm hoping to do. That's my main goal. Is I'll tell you exactly what my 3 goals are. Is number 1 is to produce good shows. Number 2 is to get more eyes on people I think deserve more eyes on them. And number 3 is hopefully it will help promote my school. But that's the last thing I want it to do. First thing, I want people to enjoy the shows, and I want to put out great DVDs or digital downloads, great content. And number 2, I want my students and the guys that I think have not got the shot that they deserve yet a chance to be seen, because I think the following I've already garnered means that these people are going to want to see what I'm putting out there. So at least these guys are going to get seen once. And if they perform the way I know they can perform, and I do my job of promoting and my job of putting the right matches out there, then they're all going to get seen more. And that's really what I want to accomplish with this.
Well, okay, let's get into that. Of course, everyone used to go to twitter.com/GloryPro2017, but yeah, we got a lot of questions about people wondering. So who are the guys, besides the ones that you've already mentioned, that you have an eye on for this?
Okay, so we've mentioned Jason Kincaid. Josh Alexander obviously isn't really available right now, but there's Jason Kincaid and Desmond Xavier, of course. Root Van Slyke and Jay Freddy that worked for 2CW. That was probably one of the places that most people know them from, and they also worked over for Wrestle One. Are you familiar with them?
Mostly for their 2CW stuff.
Yes.
I know that Jay Freddy, Brute Van Slyke, he was, kind of the big monster guy, but Jason Freddy, I want to say there was another promotion that he had like a really great match in, and I'm trying to remember what it was. But yeah, I'm
sure. I'm certain it has, because he's uber talented, and I think they're fantastic. There's this kid out of Kentucky. His name is Brother Reed, and he does some great high-flying stuff. He's fearless. I think more people need to see him. You pay attention to freelance at all?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Velasquez.
Oh, Isaiah Velasquez, yeah.
I think he's fantastic. He's another guy that, like, I know freelance is creating some buzz, but he's not on other shows that I would expect him to be on. And I don't know if that's because nobody's booking him or he doesn't want to take the opportunity to do so. But, I'm really interested in working with him. Gringo Loco out of Chicago, who's the Gringo Loco that's out of Chicago that's doing stuff for AIW right now. Like, obviously AIW is getting them some coverage, but like that's the only place. I think the more places these guys pop up, the more that they're going to be known, So I want to really take advantage of stuff like that. And there's some guys from Canada that I want to get. And as I said, a lot of these guys are getting a little bit of exposure, but I think the more exposure they get, the better. Like Space Monkey and Kobe Durst, I'm interested in using. I wish I had my list on me. I had a whole list of people, and I just started searching them on YouTube. I was asking my students, like, what guys have you worked with that you think are really talented? Send me their names, and I'll YouTube them and check some stuff on them. So we compiled a whole list of guys that I'm interested in bringing in and using. There's some guys that I've worked with in like the Tennessee area, like Sean Schultz and Greg Anthony, who I think brings something different to the table. I'd be interested in putting on the shows in a match that would really, kind of show their strengths and stuff. I want to have a variety. What I envision is represented, the product is done in the ring is like a good mixture of like New Japan, Ring of Honor, and like NWA, like 80s NWA stuff, like a good mixture of everything. So all the wrestling fans of that era, like fans that only watch Japanese wrestling, fans that only only like the 80s NWA stuff, and fans that only like the Ring of Honor style have one place to watch a mixture of everything.
I mean, you've got a lot of good names on that list, so that's really encouraging. I know a lot of our listeners, when they were wondering about what is Glory Pro going to be, I think you just summed it up there really well.
That's
first
really
show.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. What's going
on?
No,
I was just gonna say, I have a lot of. That's why I tweeted out like the rules I'm gonna follow. I really have I don't. There's things that bug me in wrestling. If you're doing something illegal, and the referee gets the 5 but gives you a warning, then what did that count mean? That meant nothing. And I'm telling the guys that are going out there, listen, this is still the gets in the fact that if you choke and you get to that 5 count, the match is over. So I'm sorry if you're supposed to wrestle for 10 minutes and you do that 2 minutes in, you're done. And I hate the fact that people rake wrestlers' eyes right in front of the referee. That's supposed to be illegal. And I know they're little tiny things, but I think that they need to be restored to have that feel of what pro wrestling is. And also, I'm not a big fan, unless it's like a crazy dive or a crazy bump on the floor, for the referee going out to the floor to follow guys when they're supposed to be a 20 count on the floor. Because that kind of ruins the device of, if you brawl around for 5 minutes in a regular match with the referee following you, and then you hit a move on the floor, roll in, and then all of a sudden the ref's in with you to count out that guy, well, you both should be counted out because you've been outside for 5 minutes. Where's the rules? There has to be a specific guideline of what we do in pro wrestling, because there's a story to be told with every aspect I've just stated, So there's just a lot that I want to put in, and I put a lot of thought process into this, and the things I love about, each thing, the things I love about New Japan, the things I love about Ring of Honor, the things I love about NWA, I want to capitalize on, and then the things that I don't like, I want to change.
Well, there you go. I think that sums up. Yeah, I mean, it does seem strange in the current, environment of wrestling, where we all know there are rules and there are established guidelines, but does it really follow through? Like you said, guys wrestling on the ground, and it's in the back of people's minds, like, hey, wait a minute, isn't there supposed to be a 20 count? I've probably counted to 100 by now. So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's different. But speaking actually on that, one of the other questions that we got was, when it comes to creating the rules, I guess, what is there anything that you feel like other promotions have utilized? I guess kind of I don't know, like using a 10 count instead of a 20 count, using that the tag rope rule. Some promotions enforce it, some don't. The question was basically asking, because they worded it kind of weird, but I think I know what they're asking, is, are there rules that you would change that mainstream wrestling companies use that you don't think apply anymore to the way wrestling is now?
I think the only rule I would change, but it's not really followed, is no open fist strikes. Because naturally in everyday life, I know the often claim is, well, in the UFC, somebody can knock someone out with a punch. Well, yeah, but they can also punch each other for an entire fight and nobody gets knocked out. So the only rules that I wouldn't follow, and as I said, I don't think they're really followed anyway, is the open fist rule. But my big thing is just actually enforcing the rules.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah, I mean, what good is it to have the rule if it's not enforced?
Exactly, and that there's aspects of pro wrestling, and I mean, this is a podcast, and all fans know what wrestling is, so I don't feel bad saying this, but there's a story to be told when you follow the rules that have been put in place to tell the stories. But if we don't follow those rules, the stories we're trying to get out are no longer told. I would love to go into something, but I have a plan, and if I tell you this how it is, then my plan is going to be out there, and it's not going to count. And everybody's going to know it already, so when they see it coming.
We definitely don't want that.
But just know that it's going to be very important that rules are followed, because that's also a way to. Okay, what's the most claim? What's the biggest claim of pro wrestlers, and especially the old school wrestling fans? What's the number one claim?
The The number one.
You probably heard it.
Of,
You or complaint about pro wrestling today by, let's say, NWA wrestling fans and
you mean like the high flyers? They're doing too much, that kind of stuff.
Not so much too much. The number one complaint I hear, and you tell me, is there's no heels out there that get heat anymore.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah,
yeah. So I think heels can do cool moves. I really think they can. I think the babyface then has to top that with something better, or move out of the way of something cool the heel tries. But if the rules are enforced and the heel breaks them behind the referee's back, they're a heel. And if the crowd is conditioned, those are the rules, and if he had have got caught, he would have lost the match, then there's heat.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's simple, right?
It is, but it's something that a lot of
but it's not used.
Don't. Yeah, maybe not wrestlers, but promotions. Because I mean, at that point, who do you believe?
Both, though. Yeah. Both wrestlers, and I think because we see it so often done that way, that we do it that way. It's not that the wrestlers don't know better. It's like, well, I see this all the time, so I'm going to do it that way. But it might not be the optimal way to do it.
Do you think that, I guess, and this kind of follows up one of the last questions that we got was with certain wrestlers utilizing different styles. So like when for example, you're in the ring with a Tanahashi, you wrestle a certain way, but at the same time, it kind of goes against the quote unquote rules, because we actually got this pretty legitimate question. I want to ask, are you and Tanahashi, when you guys are a tandem? This person, I don't know if this guy was being snarky or not, but he gave some examples of it. He says that he loves the way you wrestle and he loves Tanahashi, but there are times when you guys are just basically heels in a match, and he says he's cheering for you, and he doesn't know whether that's because that's just what wrestlers do, because we have a lot of fans that will cheer the heels, but it's because we like them as wrestlers so much. So I guess this kind of ties into what you're talking about when there are rules, but if the wrestlers don't follow them, then what does it matter? So I don't know how you want to answer his question. I don't think you guys are heels, because that's.
Yeah,
but I guess what he's saying is that's how you wrestle, but
But I'm not certain that we've ever wrestled like heels. Like there might have been a time where we were in control and the other team had the comeback per se. But the only time I can even think of that with us as being a team was against the Young Bucks at Ring of Honor, because we knew the Young Bucks would garner a greater reaction than us making a comeback.
And that's just smart. I mean,
like that.
And like you said, everyone listening to this show knows what wrestling is.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And so, I want them to be a part of this wrestling, your podcast, my upcoming promotion. Like, I'm not divulging anything that's not already divulged to everybody. But I don't think, especially in Japan, we don't wrestle as heels. I think we don't change my style, and Tanahashi doesn't change his style. I think that a wrestler who wants to be a star or won't change their style, like Stone Cold's not going to wrestle as a heel and a babyface totally different. He's going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin as a babyface or a heel. Just his demeanor and why he does things is going to be different. Same with The Rock. Same with Hulk Hogan. You're not going to all of a sudden be a completely different wrestler just because you decided you're a bad guy instead of a good guy. You're just going to have a different demeanor and different reasons behind why you do things.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. Yeah. It comes down to motivations.
Yeah, you can't change your style, because then you lose the following you have because of the way you wrestle.
So speaking of New Japan, one of the thing that we got here, obviously a lot of people wishing you well. Hopefully you get back. But so what are your goals in New Japan in 2017? And I think a lot of people know the answers to this, but yeah, well, what big goals are on the horizon for you?
I think the only answer that should be said when asked what your goal is for the upcoming year is to be world champion. And my goal is just that. I want to be IWGP champion, and I want a main event against Kenny Omega for that title and be the first two Canadians to go one-on-one for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
That's fantastic. I mean, I know a lot of people threw praise your way for the series of matches you guys had, particularly the ladder match as well. And yeah, big stuff going there. It's at 2017, man. It's kind of insane to think that you're in New Japan now. After all these years.
Yeah, it's surreal. It definitely was my biggest goal was to wrestle in Japan. I passed up a deal with pretty much everywhere to be there, so I'm happy and I look forward.
Well, Michael, I really appreciate the time that you spent here, and as always, we like to give our guests any chance they can to promote their stuff. So let people know where they can follow you and Glory Pro. Yeah, if you follow me at Michael Elgin 25 on Twitter, I retweet everything from at Glory Pro 2017. So if you follow either Twitter, I would appreciate it. I'd appreciate your follow and love and support of my promotion coming up, because I really want to do something special. I'm not claiming that it's going to be the same production level as Ring of Honor. I'm not claiming that I'm going to be able to bring everybody in from far and wide. But if it grows, all the money that's in it and all the money that's made from it is keeping within the company. So I'm not pocketing anything. So if I put $2,000 into the first show and the first show makes $5,000, that means there's $3,000 to make the next show better. So that is how I'm running this. Nothing's going in my pocket. Every dime I'm putting into it and every dime that's made from it is sticking with the company, because I want it to be around a long time and I want people to respect and want to see the product. So please follow them. And if you do follow at Glory Pro 2017, there's a link to our YouTube page in the bio, and we're starting to film stuff actually this Tuesday and going to be releasing content weekly leading up to the pay-per-view. What am I talking about? To the show. There's a million things going on at once. To our first show, February 19th in Alton, Illinois. And I have been in discussions with somebody that if I get them on the video content, it's going to be kind of a mark-out moment for myself. So I hope that fans mark out too. Absolutely. Well, thank you again, man. I appreciate it.
No problem whatsoever. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, really interesting news about the Glory Pro promotion that's going to be running out there. They're going to be in partnership with A1 Wrestling, and that's Ethan Page's promotion, and he's actually going to be appearing at their first show, as you heard. So I just think that it's cool to hear that somebody like Elgin, who has wrestled in Ring of Honor, wrestled in New Japan, really wants to feature guys like Jason Kincaid's of the world that should be getting a lot more action in major companies. All right, and with all that out of the way, just want to remind you guys, send over any comments, questions to our email address at runningwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at runningwildlwos, and on Facebook you can just search for Running Wild Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter over at Rich_Laconi. You can or search for Rich Laconi, and you can read my stuff over at pwponderings.com, where I cover tons of Ring of Honor stuff, every single VOD pretty quickly, and also stop by Last Word on ProWrestling.com to check out some more of my WWE writing and things of that nature. You got any left to add, Runz?
Oh no, that's it for me.
All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving, and hopefully you're staying out of the stores on Black Friday. Just want to remind you that you guys have been listening to the podcast that is just too sweet.